And welcome back to Let's Get Tenure, episode 7. We've nuked Mubopolis and restarted Detroit, and we are here in the summer of year 60. So we've kind of taken a step back from the last video, but we just started auto trading now. So I thought this would be a kind of a good place to pick back up to explain some of the challenges that I'm noticing really early that I didn't really pick up on until much later in the video. And, I'll make the comment that this seems to be a lot easier to do on a small map, which is counterintuitive, but because it's small, you really have to make the best use of the land. So you have to focus on having a very small, concentrated area, which, the smaller your city is, the more efficient the pathing is. So there are some hidden benefits to kind of, working with a small map as opposed to a large map. You don't have, laborers just wandering off as far as they possibly can walk and things like that. So here we are, like I said, year 60. Our population is up to 619. So we're above the 500 threshold for tenure. But, if I look at the population graphs, for example, I don't think that this is going to be enough to stay above 500 indefinitely. So I kind of anticipate as the population wave decreases here that, I'm going to probably drop beneath 500, but I'm not exactly sure. It's still kind of early to tell. As far as food goes, it's not really something to look at just yet because we just fully enabled auto trading. In the year 59 up until like the spring of 60, I think I had some fishermen going. Uh, I didn't have every single trading post auto trading, so still micromanaging a lot of the trades. And it's going to be interesting to see how this plays out. But when you do look at the production tab, you can see we really haven't produced much food in the last year, just 2,700. Uh, we're consuming about 145,000, which I expect to go up. So, we're right around that 150,000 deficit. Ale production was 26,000, which is really good. And, scaling out, one of the differences now with Detroit here is we have eliminated all of the extra jobs, if you will. There's no woodcutters anymore. There's no fishing docks. There's no hunters. There's no gatherers. So we're really kind of all in now on auto trading. And I've just gone in and kind of configured these uh, trading posts. So I've divided them into two different groups. Actually, there's three different groups and then two kind of larger groups. So we have the trading posts up here on the top, and then we have this one, which is special, and we'll come back to that. And then we have all the trading posts down here, starting with this one. And what I did is I counted how many trading posts I had. I divided by 3. That's kind of how I got this extra one. And I went through on the purchasing tab, and the priorities have been a little bit diversified. So this one is all of the trading posts, regardless of which one they are, is buying fruit as the number one food priority. But then the second priority is alternating. So this one is fruit, vegetable, meat, grain. This one's going to be fruit, grain, vegetable, meat. And then I think this one here is fruit, vegetable, grain, meat. And they just kind of, if you go through them, they're equally distributed now to where the second priority is, yeah, there's fruit. The second priority is always changing. So I'm hoping that adds some new diversity to my diet. And instead of buying 9,999 of everything, I'm only buying that much in fruit. For the second priority, it's only 5,000, and then for priorities 3 and 4, it's 2,500. So the top trading posts up here are auto trading for tools and clothes. They're trying to bring in about 1,000 per shipment. This might be kind of high, so I'm going to have to watch that closely and make sure these don't grow too much. And then down here, these ones are auto trading for fuel. So there's still some customization necessary where I'm going to have to go into the orders tab here and kind of play with what's being brought. You can see that this shipment here is kind of the mega ship. Uh, so, I may need to be adding herbs to this. I may need to be adding some tools or some coats or some firewood in just kind of playing with that distribution. Right now, herbs are being brought in up here on those mega ships, and and then tools and coats are being brought in on the supply ship, and then down here on the supply ship is only bringing firewood, and then on the mega ships it's food only. So the one thing I've yet to do, if you can see here, this should be 2,500. In fact, I think they should all be 25. Yeah, okay. So the one thing I've not yet done is allowed the traders to kind of idle at these posts until they want to go home. So when I see a trader come in, I'm going into the post, I'm dismissing the trader just like you saw, and then sending him on his way. So overall, the city is very similar to Mubopolis. There's very little difference other than the fact that it's smaller and other than the fact that we've gone through and destroyed all of the production type jobs to clear off some space. But there's immediately two, besides having to customize the trading posts and kind of play with that balance a little bit, which is going to require 10 or 15 or 20 years worth of accumulating some data. Outside of that, the two problems that I'm seeing right off the bat is when I go into the quantity tab of my inventory, I'm pleasantly surprised to see all 5 of my ale producing fruit up top. So we've got a ton of plums, ton of pears, ton of apples, ton of peaches, ton of cherries. Uh, where the problem comes in is when I look to see right now I only have 500 ale left, and I just increased the capacity of all of my trading posts from 1,500 to 2,500. So, they're going to be using more ale now to make larger purchases, which is a really good thing because it's going to bring me in a greater amount of food every time they do an auto purchase. And hopefully what that's going to do is allow me to, stop. I'm going to be able to stop going in and having to dismiss every trader. So I'm hoping by increasing my ale quantity, I'm going to be able to make larger purchases. And then because I'm making larger purchases, I can afford to let these traders just sit in idle so that I can just play the game at 10 speed and not have to do anything at all. So that's going to take some time, but the issue here is we have a ton of fruit that could be turned into ale. And even though I have 60 brewers at the moment, that does not seem to be enough to capitalize on the amount of fruit that I'm bringing in. So what I really would like to be doing is increasing my ale production so that this fruit is not consumed by the citizens. There's a limited time frame in as much as I have, X number of years to convert this into ale, which will then be picked up by the trading posts and used to purchase more things before it's consumed and essentially goes to waste. So building some more taverns is going to become I'm going to have a need for that very shortly. So that's one thing that needs to be done. And the other thing that needs to be done is, you can see the problem right here. I have this big stockpile with a ton of stone, iron. I still have 3,200 logs. These resources are now useless to me. The only time I'm going to need these is if I need to build another cemetery, I need to build a couple taverns, maybe a couple houses, or if I have a fire or a disaster. But what I really don't want to see is that they are taking up a central stockpile, because these are being used to unload firewood and things like that, which are going to make this trading post has to work harder. So if I buy a bunch of firewood here, these traders are going to have to offload it somewhere that's much further away than their conveniently placed stockpile. So in order to combat that, what I'm probably going to want to do, and this is going to be a little bit harder than it sounds, but try to find somewhere on this map where I can actually place a trading post, and I'm pretty sure that I've kind of exhausted any potential. Uh, this might work right here if I go and just remove all the roads. Uh, so seeing if I can get one more of these out there, so it can just take up all of the. That'd be such a good place right there. So we can just pick up all of the available stone and iron and things like that, and just get it out of my. Oh, this might work right here, and just kind of get it uh, out of my stockpiles. Get it in a centralized place, kind of create a little bit of a bank, if you will, and that would be a really big advantage in terms of just decreasing efficiency across the board. So more taverns, maybe a couple extra trading posts that are not auto trading. I think if I build one here, I might actually get some traders down this river, uh, which would be kind of interesting. But if I'm only putting a stone and logs and things in there, I'm probably not going to be purchasing anything unless it's a real dire crisis situation. Other than that, though, the city is doing really well for the year 60. It was built the same way that the last city was built, except it was much smaller, so I never really ended up with that many pastures. I think I at one point had 4, and by the time I got to 4, that allowed me to create enough wealth that I could just naturally start auto trading. And at that point, it really was just a matter of being patient and slowly slowly disabling my other job types until we got to this point here. And so long as I continue to manually dismiss these guys, I don't think I'll have much of a problem keeping a nice balance. But that just comes with the attendant problem of having to go in and dismiss, 20 traders per season. And, even if I am running at 10x right now, it's not something that I want to just continually do. As you can see, it's really a cycle of just when can I, when do I get a break if this is all I'm doing for the game? So that's kind of it. Let's see if we can get this trading post down here. It's generally a pain in the ass to get it on a small river, but okay, this is going to work. And then, what I'll probably do is build a couple additional storage barns in here, maybe a couple stockpiles, and just start to move all of the unnecessary goods, all of the stuff that we have massive surpluses of, putting them down here in this little corner. And then, you know, ideally what I'm probably going to do is come through, wipe out some of these storage barns. I might build some additional housing or some additional markets. Obviously, I'd like to at least build another 10 to 20 taverns. And that's going to be about the final state of this game. Right now, I think I have a total of 7 teachers. So I don't anticipate ever having more than about 140 students. I've got 4 clerics. I really don't want to go above 800. I want to keep my food consumption down. I've got 1 herbalist, and I want to try to destroy this person again. But what I noticed when I got rid of all of the herbalists originally, that all of a sudden it seemed like no one was consuming herbs anymore. And even though they were being auto traded and I had several thousand, it just seemed like no one was purchasing them. And then my health dropped from a 5 into a 4.5. So that was kind of annoying. So I built another one. And as soon as I did, all of a sudden herbs started to be consumed again. So we're going to kind of keep an eye on that. 190 traders, which ideally I would like to get that down. I think each trading post has 10 traders, so I would prefer to have that at like 6 to 8, but I don't know if the labor there is going to throw things out of whack. My vendors are at 64, which I'm pretty pleased with. Almost every market is completely full using four vendors, but then I have some that are like 8 or 6. So I probably want to get these down to 4 and see if that has a real negative consequence or if I can get away with that. You can see this entire area of the map over here. We don't really have any marketplaces or brewers. You can see a lot of these stockpiles are taking up key real estate that really do not need to be there. So that trading post down here is going to help with that. But realistically speaking, between the year now of 60 and say 75 or 80, I'm largely just going to be playing it as fast as possible and then stopping to maybe do some large construction projects to consolidate this and make it a little bit more efficient. And then around the year 75, in a perfect world, there will be no more construction. Everything will just be completely automated, and we can start letting the trading ships idle and not manually dismissing them, and then kind of start recording between the years of 75 and 100 and 150 and 200, and letting the city just go all by itself. So that's the goal right now. I don't know how well it's going to work, but so far playing on hard with a harsh climate on a small map with disasters on has been pretty pretty easy. I don't think I've had much of an issue with this strategy. There is one other thing I think that's worth commenting on before we end the video, and that is if you zoom in at any given point on a map, you're going to see a lot of wells. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 of them in this little area here. If we zoom in here, there's one, I think there's one there, 2, 3, 4. There's probably a few more that are hidden by trees. And the reason that I bring this up is that I saw a really good video today that someone was showing off their city, and I liked the video a lot. But at one point in the video, a fire started, and I think it started in a marketplace, and then it spread to 2 houses. And the person in the video commented that he didn't think that it was going to spread any further, and I got a little bit of a chuckle out of that, not in a dickish way, but I got a little bit of a chuckle because I was watching it and I just thought to myself, they're going so far away to get water to put this fire out, the citizens, I mean, that it's more probable that this fire is going to spread and consume, quite a few more buildings, and then it did. So, the lesson there, I think, is that the more wells you have, the better. I have one here, and then I have one here, so kind of on both axes of this little housing area. I have one here, but I don't have one here, so there's room for me to build more wells. Is the bottom line. And the more wells you have, I mean, it's really not a negative thing. I think they increase happiness as well. So you have that as an added benefit. But realistically speaking, for a large area like this where you have a lot of dense houses, there's 1, 2, 3 wells. It might be able to go up to 4 or 5. But when you have this many wells and they're this close together and you have a fire, your citizens will put it out very, very quickly, and the chances are it's not going to spread. And when you have such a densely populated area like this, that is a very real problem. The only other concern that I have with the city is I don't have any boarding houses. So if a large tornado comes through, and this is a small map, so if a tornado comes through, it's going to hit a lot of things. We could really be in a bad place. So I don't think 1,600 stone is necessarily enough to overcome that. Certainly, a 425,000 food surplus with 150,000 food deficit per year is not a lot of food compared to the 1.2 million I had in Mubopolis on year 100. Uh, but so those are the factors. Those are what's going on right now. If you wanted to get into Auto Trader and you want to see what a city is like, I'm going to put a link to the save file in the video description. Other than that, I hope everyone has a great weekend. Take care.